welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a look at how to use Linq to query our file system. Linq stands for Language Integrated Query, and Linq is a new feature that's part of the .NET 3.5 framework. Linq is something that Microsoft is positioning to be a query engine or query mechanism that can basically query anything that's enumerable. That could be everything from a file system to a data set to an array of objects to XML. You name it. If it's iterable, it can be linkable or linked. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at a few different examples on how to grab some data via Linq off the file system. The directory that I'm going to be looking at, the program files directory, and we're going to grab some data out of there. So let's go ahead and get started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do from D in new directory info, and I'm going to actually search the C program files directory. I'm going to say get directories, and then I could be done and just say select D, and that would return me back basically everything that's in all the directories, or one listing of all the directories. But that's really not what I want to do. Let's go ahead and try something real quick. Let's do where name equals Google. So what we're going to do is find all the files that, or all the folders that are named Google. Just so we can show that this actually worked, let's do system diagnostics. I'm going to do file.name. And I'll put a breakpoint right here. And I should find a single file, and it should be named Google. It is named Google, and I have returned a single file. Well, that's pretty cool, the fact that I can search my file system in a SQL style statement and a little bit more readable and maybe easier to manage. But how often am I looking for a given file? Maybe I want to find all folders that have more than 100 files in them. So I can do this. Give me all files, or all folders, and that have more than 100 files. Let's run this, see what happens. So it tells me the name is PC Doctor for Windows, and I should have, let's see, I have one result here, so I only have one file, one folder in my program files directory that has more than 100 files in it. Well, that alone is pretty powerful and pretty cool, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. Let's actually take a look at how to do a little bit more advanced stuff. So let's go ahead and clean this stuff out right here. Now what we're going to do is let's go ahead and find a particular file on the file system, and let's actually go ahead and try to find this Google Toolbar 2 file, and let's figure out what folder that's in. So let's create a little comment here, so I'll have to go back and get that again later. From D in new directory info, now what I could do here is I'm actually going to join to all the individual files. So let's do f.getFiles, where the file name equals my Google Toolbar 2. And we'll just do a select F. And if I come down here and do system diagnostic, if I put a breakpoint right here, I should now find a single file called Google Toolbar 2. And I did. And how many times is this found? Found a grand total of 1 time. Well, that's pretty cool. So now I can actually join all the directories to all the files inside of those directories. And I can keep going down. This will go recursively for me as well. Well, that's pretty slick and pretty snazzy. What if I don't want to return back just the file object, and I want to actually return back maybe a typed object that's both the file name and as well as a directory it was found in? We can do that. And we can do it by creating an anonymous return type. Do file name. And maybe we'll go dir name. And I could, any attribute that's in here I can do as well. So I could do, does it exist? Give me the extension. Basically anything that's inside of the any of those objects can be returned. So now, if I run this again, it'll tell me it's in the folder Google, and the file name is Google Toolbar 2. Nowhere did I tell it to explicitly find the folder Google, it just found it. So pretty slick little way to find a particular file and know what folder it's in. Can save you some code there. Now let's look at one last example. Maybe we want to actually group all the files within a directory structure by the extension and the full name, by the directory name, so we can get a listing of all possible extensions and all possible directories. If you're doing this without Linq, it'd be fairly cumbersome and fairly painful, but with Linq, it gets just a hair easier. Instead of retyping a bunch of code, I'm actually going to get rid of this, and to do a group by, I'm just going to say group F by, and I'm going to say new. We'll call this extension. So we're going to group by the extension, and I want to grab full name as well. So we'll grab the dir full name, and we're going to project this into items. So I can now do something like ext equals items.key.extension, and maybe I want to do a count. Well, now I can actually get my extension, my directory name, and it should be count, and I can tell you how many times an extension is found in a given folder. So I'm going to do oops. Let's put a breakpoint here and see what happens. So I found a total of, I don't know, quite a bit. A lot of folders, a lot of files. And this extension.dll is found 3 times. And if I look, it's actually found in the Apple software update. And I can iterate through this one by one and dump out all this information to disk. Now, what have we just seen? We've now figured out that we can actually not only search for files and directories, but we can also group the results. Basically simplifying our logic because we don't have to do a bunch of iterations and do a bunch of counts. So what have we looked at today? We've looked at 3 different ways to query the file system, going from very simple, basically finding a given folder on a file system that matches a name, all the way up to a little bit more complex where we'll do a join, where we'll look at each individual file in the folders and try to group them by type and then output that information. So I hope you get a little bit of an overview of how you can use Linq to not only search your data and your objects, but also things like your directories and your file systems. So till next time,